So why a protest like that of Nepal cannot be repeated in India? And I think with a bit of research, I've been able to list a few reasons why it is, in a way, not really possible in India. And number one is, of course, the distraction. India doesn't really lack focus, but the problem is India has a lot of noise. And how do you counter that? And also, with those issues, there are 10 other distractions. You got Bollywood, you got cricket, you got a lot of other things. Like there's Big Boss now that's coming in. And second issue, ironically, is also our strength, which is diversity. An issue that might be relevant in Kerala, that might get people out on the streets, might not necessarily be that relevant in Delhi. Nobody really might hit the streets. Something that might be relevant in Kolkata, it doesn't have to be relevant in Bengaluru. Now you might counter me and say that, well, what about issues like corruption, issues like governance, or issues like rape? These are issues that are relevant across the nation. It does not matter what caste, religion, region, or language you speak. These are issues that matter to everyone. But the reality is, how many people are willing to hit the street and demand for a change? You go out there on the streets. I've done a lot of reporting. You go out there, speak to people, talk about corruption, talk about governance. Out of 100, 95 will express their anger. Heck, even 70 might express their anger. But how many of those 70 or 95 are willing to hit the streets? The turnaround rate is pathetic. And when I say distractions, it does not always mean Bollywood or politics. There is, of course, also distraction in terms of the ideology. You see a lot of the creamy layer of these protests eventually joining politics. The reality is that people in India who lead these protests are not ideologically driven. They are politically driven. So the final thought basically here is that India does not lack anger. India does not lack people who are willing for a change, but India definitely does lack a lot of focus. India lacks a clear organization, and also India lacks the real intent to change. If the youth of the nation isn't willing to let go of a few days of salary, they're willing to take a few hardships, unless that happens, you do not really see a change in the nation. You cannot be sitting in your cubicle, putting up a post on social media through your throwaway account and expecting there to be a change. It just does not happen like that. You need to hit the ground and you need to make sure that the changes happen. But having said that, do I think what happened in Nepal, what the protests were, how it turned out to be, is that the right way to make a change? Maybe not. But have the other ways of protests really worked in a country like India? The answer is still no.